Welcome, everybody, to Practical Psychology Podcast, episode 43. My name is Joseph Wong. I'm one of the co hosts. Today, we are very happy to have Sera Jorgensen. Sera is a busy mental health counselor in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. Sera is currently working as a program coordinator in a registered not for profit in Vancouver. And Sera also comes from a theater background. There's so much I want to ask Sera here. Thank you, Sera, for coming today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to chatting with you.
So, Sarah, the first question that we want to ask is theater, creativity combined with
Mhm.
counseling. Tell me your interpretation.
Yes, I know. So oftentimes when I'm talking to people about my background and they ask me about my undergrad, and I say, well, actually, I have a degree in theater of all things, and they know that I'm in counseling right now, they become a little bit confused until I start explaining, and then things start to click. So originally from a theater background, now doing my Master's of Arts in Counseling Psychology, there were so many things that I found in my counseling education that really were clicking from my theater background. So, a huge example of this for me would be that emotional attunement that you have with a client. So, of course, we all have our sort of baseline therapeutic presence. I would say that I'm a very calm, relaxed, approachable person in that sense. But sometimes you're going to be with a client who has this high energy, they're very excited about something, they want to talk to you about it. And if you respond to them using that really like calm kind of voice and demeanor, they're not necessarily going to feel heard in that moment, right? So that theater background allows me to then match their energy, be as excited as they are about something good that's happening in their life, be as touched by something that's maybe sad that's happened in their life. So it really has allowed me to better connect with people, not just in the counseling space, but in life in general.
So, Sarah, here you mentioned about the emotional attunement,
Hmm.
theater connect with people. Can you tell us a little bit about theater? For most people, when they think about theater, they think about Netflix, movies. What exactly do
Hmm.
you train in theater?
Yeah, so a lot of my training was focused in being on stage. I did do a little bit of film-oriented training, but for the
Oh,
most part, it was about having that physical presence in front of a live audience. And so instead of being from here to here like we are on a screen right now, it's the whole body. You're completely out there with everyone. So you really have to be attuned with yourself from the tip of your head down to your toes and ready to interact with people kind of on the spot, which again really does
wow.
align itself with counseling. You're always ready for something unexpected to happen. Maybe someone forgets to say a line. You can't just depend that everything is going to go the way you'll expect it to. There has to be some level of adaptability that you're working within all the time because there's no retakes when it comes to performing in front of a live audience.
Also, Sarah, when you're talking about your theater training on the
Hmm.
spot, unexpected, adaptability, just showing up on stage, a lot of
Hmm.
those skills translate really well to what clients need in counseling, no matter to resolving problems or enhancing their performance in business or anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like a lot of it is very transferable. I think even in terms of coming at things from sort of a creative mindset too. Um, there's so much creativity that's in the arts, but seldom
Mm.
do we think about how we apply that creativity to problem solving. And really, problem solving for me personally is such a creative exercise. And I think that so much of what we're doing in counseling is we're problem solving. Maybe we're not using like solutions focused therapy in a very structured way and trying to help the client in that sense, but even trying to figure out, okay, what even is the client's problem? What are different ways that we can go about addressing the client's problem? And sure, maybe I have this intervention that I love to use, and then I offer it to the client, and they say, oh, a past counselor has already tried that with me, and I hated it. Okay, we have to pivot. When you have that ability to creatively problem solve, in my mind, how I picture it is you have your kind of solution or outcome that you're looking for, and then you have a direct way of getting there. But once you have that creativity, you're creating all of these alternative paths that you can take, and you're able to choose, okay, am I going left or am I going right based on the information that I'm seeing in front of me?
Well, Sarah, a lot of the viewers will be very interested to hear about that creativity process. Because in
Mhm.
clinical counseling experience, one of the first thing that we try to establish with any client is to doing the same thing, getting the same results, how to go outside the box, which requires a lot of creativity and that adaptability too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, having that creativity and being able to guide people to see those other alternatives. When you're really stuck in an issue, you see it in one way and it's really hard to think of alternatives. And that's where we step in with that creativity and say, hey, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And that's where you get those kind of light bulb moments.
And Sarah, I have a question here. How do people cultivate, or cultivate is not a very good word, but increase the creativity skills?
That's a great question. Being from the background that I'm in, I think being able to engage in creative activities, for
Mhm.
example, and I know a lot of people would probably roll their eyes at it, but I cannot recommend improvised theater enough.
Okay.
If there was one kind of training everyone could do, it's
Okay.
improvised theater because it's that thinking on your feet and again, like thinking of alternative ways. And oftentimes when you're in a scene with someone that's improvised, you're thinking, okay, what is the most wild, outlandish way that I can explore this scene with someone. And so you're really, because it's almost like, you've got the box that you think in, and then you're thinking outside of the box, but then there's all of this other thinking that can happen out here. So, what is the most wild solution that we can apply to this? And I think even how that applies to like a counseling sense maybe okay, the most wild solution is not the thing that we're going to go with in the end, but is there some sort of essence within that that we can emulate? Maybe it's not realistic for us to have a client who really wants to put themselves out there, go be in rock
Oh,
star
wow.
next weekend on stage. But could we get them involved with a choir? Could we have them go to karaoke, take some smaller steps to put themselves out there in the way that they want to?
Sarah, I love this idea
Hmm.
because in a lot of the clinical work, for example, people have the depression symptoms.
Hmm.
We use the evidence-based approach behavior reactivation to kind of
Hmm.
dial it up that joyful activities. In a
Hmm.
way, they are sort of doing improv because they have to do put themselves in a role to do those joyful activities, even though they cannot feel the joy. In a way, it's an improv.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that they say in theater a lot of the times is fake it until you make it,
Okay.
right? You don't know the choreography right now. Just dance along until you figure it out. And I think we do ask clients to do that a lot if we're saying, say, having them to act as if. Okay, act as if you are a really confident person that knows the answers in class. Or act as if you are a parent that is really, in tune with their children's emotions. And then the more that they take on that role, the more that they actually become that person that they're looking to be.
Wow. I was just thinking about right now, it could be in a parallel universe. We are doing an improv right now.
Yeah, everything that you're doing is improv, really. Every interaction that you have, you are improvising that conversation, those skills, you're never going to have the same conversation twice, right? So I think those are ways to exercise your creativity really. And even just having conversations like this and learning what other people's perspectives are, it opens up a whole different world of things that you've never considered.
So Sarah, here you mentioned about to increase the creativity skills,
Mhm.
we need to do creativity activities. And one
Yes.
of them is the improv theater.
Mhm.
If people want to do that, where do they sign up? And
Oh, yeah. I would say there are so many places, like even in my neighborhood where I live in Vancouver, there's a place down the street. I know that there's a place about a 10-minute drive away. There's lots of, you can certainly Google and you'll find a lot of places that offer things like that.
okay,
And even, if you're interested in taking like a life drawing class, you probably have something like that in your area, right? So it doesn't just have to be kind of performance related creativity. It can
okay.
be visual arts, it can be music, it can be really anything, building something out of wood, just something that sparks that feeling of creativity and feeling of flow within
Okay.
yourself.
Okay, so Sarah, how about you walk it through step by step here? Let's
Yes.
say for somebody who very engaged in these creativity activities, it
Hmm.
will be very difficult for them to brainstorm or Google because
Hmm.
most people in the jobs they usually are. The boss tell them do these 10 things, do these 10 things. It's very hard to be creative. So
Hmm.
let's say if somebody want to explore, they will try their life drawing, improv. And how
Hmm.
do they get to meet those people to get inspired or just as a mentor?
People who can inspire greater creativity in them.
Yeah, for example, let's say if somebody want to improve their fitness, the doctor say, you've been chain smoking, you need to start running. Yeah, they can join a running group so they get
Hmm.
access to some positive influence. How about for creativity work?
Yeah, I would say if you engage in any of the activities that I mentioned, so many of them are very social, and
Okay,
you'll be surprised how easy it is to find connection in
okay,
some of the spaces because a lot of people that are there, they're going there for the same thing. Of course, maybe they have a skill that they want to improve, they want to be more artistic or more creative. They also want to meet people. We live in a world where people are increasingly feeling isolated. Um,
wow,
Social media, the culture. So a lot of the folks that you'll find there are really quite similar to yourself. And I would say too,
oh,
I wouldn't, I would also caution people against depending on finding someone else. Going back to acting as if maybe you're going to be that creative mentor for someone. Be that person for
okay.
yourself. Maybe you'll be that person for someone else as well.
So Sarah, don't wait for somebody, just show up.
Yeah, just show up and people will follow because people want to
Okay.
be engaged with each other. They want to be interested. They want to do things that are important to them. And if you follow that path, I truly believe that other people will align themselves with you.
And Sarah, as you are mentioning, it looks like when people are trying these activities, they also get the social benefits, which is
Mm,
huge because one of the biggest challenge in Canada is loneliness, isolation, and of course, housing prices.
yeah, absolutely. Like loneliness, for example, I'm sure a lot of us have heard that it's akin to smoking. That's how detrimental it is for your health. So, making sure that you're doing activities that are creating a bit more of a social atmosphere, especially for those of us that live in big cities. There's so many people around you, but just because there are people does not mean that you're not lonely, right? So, taking a moment to realize, okay, how am I feeling? What kind of people do I want in my life? Where can I find that type of person in my life? And also, how can I be that type of person for myself and for other people?
Okay. So Sarah, let's make a list here, okay? They can
Yes.
do improv theater.
Hmm.
Life drawing, I've never heard about it, but it's called life drawing.
Yeah, yeah. It's so. I'll see
Okay.
posters for it in my community all the time.
Okay.
You'll go to a space, there will be maybe a person modeling
Okay.
standing there, and the whole group sitting in all different areas will go ahead and draw this person, maybe with some guidance, something like that. Even a lot of community centers have painting or beading programs. There's no limits in terms of the amount of artistic and creative practices that are present in our communities.
Wow. So,
Hmm.
Sarah, I'm curious to learn about this. As you are working with an individual in counseling, coaching, some of these individuals, they have a zero background, like myself, zero background in creativity work. So,
Mm.
for you, you are the expert in this. How do you bridge the gap so to provide them baby steps so they won't get overwhelmed?
Absolutely. I am very much someone who I like to integrate interventions into things that the clients are already doing. So, do you have any hobbies that you do, Joseph?
Okay, okay. For me, some hobbies, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, for example, somebody might do like martial arts, or they might do a sport,
Okay,
or
wow.
they might cook, for example. And they might not consider these to be creative activities. However,
Mm,
However, there's a lot of like problem solving and creativity that's happening there. Going back to
mm,
talking about all the different decisions that one can make and how you need to kind of have a creative mindset to do that. Think about I mean, FIFA was just happening here in
yeah,
Vancouver.
okay, yeah.
If you're an athlete, you need to have all these ideas of all the different ways that something can go. You need to have these multiple perspectives, and that's what allows you to make the most informed choice, right? So, I think that something that's important to me with creativity as well is finding creativity in the things that are seemingly non-creative and then applying certain interventions and whatnot to that. So, what do I mean by that? For example, if you are a client that is having a really difficult time relaxing, you're looking for some things that are going to make you calm down a little bit, some very some very just helpful small steps that you can do. And you're really into martial arts or you're really into playing cards. Something that I might do is I might try and find a way to tack a mindful exercise onto something that you're already doing. So maybe there's some progressive muscle relaxation that you can do before you do your martial arts. You're just tacking it onto something else. Maybe before you play cards, you can take a breath, you can ground yourself. So for me, again, the creativity is less so about being an artist and more so about
Mm,
thinking of all of the possibilities that are there. The arts are just a pathway into that.
okay. Interesting here, Sarah.
Mhm.
You mentioned about creativity, you can put it into many, many circumstances. People can
Mhm.
have an existing activity, they just add the creativity piece to that. Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. So, Sarah,
Mhm.
as you are working with individuals or talking to friends, families, or other people, what are some of the obstacles for creative thinking or creativity in
Mm.
problem solving?
Yeah, absolutely. I think something that I see a lot is when someone is very stuck in a pattern. Maybe it's been years that been doing the same thing and they're not understanding why it isn't changing. And from an outside perspective, we might be able to say, well, I can see
Okay,
why it isn't changing
yeah.
because you haven't adjusted anything. You're going to receive the same result each time. So I think those are the folks that probably find it most challenging to break out of these cycles and to break out of these habits.
Okay, yeah. People who are very stuck in a pattern doing the same thing for, they have difficulty seeing it when other people can see so clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. And so maybe when working with those folks, I might encourage them to start doing a different activity. Maybe pick up a sport. Pickleball is really huge right now. I might say to them, you live really close to a pickleball court. It's not something that you really need to have like someone else to bring with you to do. There's usually other people there who can play with you. Have you thought about trying that? Have you thought about just going for a walk in your neighborhood and noticing some other things, or maybe chatting with a neighbor that you've never met before? Little things that you can do to break the habits, right? Oh, you watch movies in the evening after you get home from work, but you wanna wake up earlier. What if you woke up at 6 and you watched a movie in the morning and then you went to work
Oh,
after that? How do we disrupt the patterns that are there? And there's infinite possibilities of how that can be done.
wow. Sarah, I'm curious to learn about this. So for people, including myself, when we are trying to do something slightly different, there's a identity obstacle. For
Mm-hmm.
example, let's say if they're trying out the life drawing, for some people will say, only girls do drawing. I don't want to do it. It's outside my identity. I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you for your opinion and expertise here, because in theater, you have been asked to act on some roles which is maybe anti your personality and style. How do you do that? Because that can translate really well.
Yeah, I would say I'll actually give you an analogy from my workplace that I think works really well here. So
Okay.
I work at a nonprofit that provides clothing to folks who are going for job interviews or starting new jobs.
Yes.
It's called Dress for Success Vancouver. There's a lot
Okay.
more to it, of course, but that is what I do in my program primarily. And something that very often happens is we'll have clients that come in, they have a 75-minute appointment with a stylist, and they go through and they try to find something for them to wear. Very often, we'll have clients that come in and they say, "Oh, I could never wear that. I could never
Okay.
wear this. I could never wear this color, this style." And so, something that we're encouraging our volunteers to ask those clients is, okay, if nothing felt as though it were off limits, what would you try? So, if you weren't,
Please ask them again. That is a epic
of
question
course.
here.
If nothing felt off limits, what would you try? So it reminds me of what you were saying about those identity limitations, right? So I identify as a woman. Maybe I've grown up with this idea that, women are like this, they're not like this. Women do these things, they don't do these things. But if I ask myself, okay, if these things didn't feel like they were off limits for me to do and they were all available to me as a woman, what things would I start to do? Would I start to go to the gym and really work on building my muscle? And you start to think, okay, and if you have it just as an exploratory exercise, it doesn't feel as threatening as prescribing to someone, oh, just do it anyways, even though it doesn't feel aligned with who you are as an individual. Get them to explore and allow them to view that conversation as really a safe space to talk about some of their aspirations that maybe have been really in the back of their mind, but didn't feel like they were allowed. That is how I would approach that with someone.
And Sarah here, just 1 second here.
Mhm.
In psychotherapy here for many years, there is a very famous question. They call it the miracle questions.
Yes.
And I think for you, your questions here can be as the same caliber, if not more powerful.
Thank you.
If everything is off limits, what would you do?
Hmm.
That is as powerful as the miracle questions. How would you name that question? Because that can be the Sarah's modality or Sarah's method. It is
I
true. I love it. How would
thank
you name it?
you.
This question.
And I will say like this is a question that I will attribute to someone else who came into our organization and taught us
Okay.
some of these things. And if I were to think
Okay.
of her and what she would name this question, oh, something about the exploration outside of limitation question, perhaps.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is the Sarah's method here. You
Oh, thank you.
That's very powerful questions. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it breaks that habit of even thinking, right? We have habits that we do in our daily life, and then we have habits that reside in the mind. And if we're constantly telling ourselves, "Oh, I can't do this. It's not for me. It doesn't
Yeah.
align with who I am," but we kind of think that we want to do it. How do we get clients to start actually thinking, "No, maybe that is something that you can do. Why not? Why don't we try it? Why don't we at least think about
Mhm.
what it would be like to try it?"
And there is a very creativity moment in problem
Mhm.
solving, planning. When people think about things, they think about the I can, I cannot, the rules, the limitations, resources, which very limit creativity. Very
Mhm.
practical, very limited creativity. For that question, you cannot do that first. This is the first time I heard about this. It's great.
Wow, I'm so glad that it resonated with you.
Okay. So Sarah, you help them
Mhm.
ask their questions. So the stylist will be dressing them,
Mhm.
and it'll be very uncomfortable for them to do something that they're not used to.
Absolutely. Imagine we have so many people who are maybe trying a new job or haven't worn like professional clothes in that setting before. And I'm sure you interview people. If somebody is physically uncomfortable in what they're wearing, how can they talk about themselves and how can they share the best parts of themselves that will get them the job? So something like that. It's so important to encourage someone to find something that they really feel like themselves in.
Sarah, I have a question about what exactly is a stylist?
Yeah, so in my workplace, stylists are volunteers that come in and they'll
Okay.
work one-on-one with our clients to make sure that they have either one or two outfits that suit their needs and preferences.
Okay.
In the same way that counseling is, this much modality and this much therapeutic relationship, those interactions as well are this much clothing, this much connection. So, a lot
Mhm.
of the encouragement and confidence that happens for these clients is happening in relationship with our
Mhm.
volunteers. And what's lovely too is sometimes the clients will get a job and they'll come back to us and they'll see those volunteers again and they'll be so
Mhm.
grateful for that experience. But they really highlight, it wasn't just the clothes, it wasn't just the things that you gave me, it was how you made me feel in that interaction.
Yeah. So in a way, Sarah, the stylists, the volunteers are already using a lot of the psychological skills and techniques.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of parallels there.
Yeah, and I assume they also know how to address people.
Yes, yes, absolutely. They're very skilled. I'm so grateful to have them. And certainly I've learned a lot from them in terms of speaking with
Ah,
the clients, engaging with the clients, but also how to
ah.
dress. Yes.
Sarah, I have a question here. Okay, actually, I have many
Yes.
questions, but anyways, because a lot of people, as you
hmm
know, in psychology, we try to support people for
Mm.
well-being and reduce problems. Different people come from different privileges, resources, and circumstance. A
Mm.
lot of people don't know how to dress because they don't
Mm.
have the mentors or the parents. So a
Mhm.
stylist is actually an essential services.
Absolutely. It's someone that can guide you in the same way that, many
Yeah.
clients in counseling, their parents haven't taught them how to express emotions or,
Yes.
pay attention to their
Wow.
these aren't skills that were taught in school. These aren't skills that all families have to pass on to their
Mm,
children, right? It's very much the same with the
mm.
clothing things. And with a lot of these things, it really is, there's an art to it. It can be difficult to explain those nuances, but to have someone guide you and show you, it opens up that window and helps you kind of build those skills for yourself after that.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this here, Sarah, with your
hmm
inspiration. For the stylist, is closely linked to the self-esteem, confidence. And
hmm
it is a skill that a lot of people just assume they will know by social
hmm
media, but actually it is an essential services, as essential as teaching exercise, teaching basic healthy diet, sleep routine.
Yes, I
Yeah, so
agree.
these can be
Totally.
incorporated into your counseling and because you
Mm.
know some styling too.
Yeah, I certainly do. I've picked up a lot while I've been there. And I
Okay.
think too, in terms of like I've had conversations with you about things like personal branding and in a way that's like career styling, you know? So I certainly think that, yeah, those skills are something that could be integrated into counseling work, especially
Oh,
if the sessions were to be focused on employment related things,
yeah.
trying to build confidence. I know that there's a lot
Mm.
of, there's like psychoeducation that's related to how you present yourself in a workplace and whatnot. So that's certainly something that could be integrated there, which I hadn't considered. So thank you.
It is a great niche from your talents. In
Mm-hmm.
counseling practice, of course, we are working on self-esteem. We all know by the research, if people have higher self-esteem, their jobs, relationships, families all shoot up.
Mm-hmm.
People have low self-esteem, they tend to shoot down, abusive relationship, all that. And
Right.
in here, as you are doing that, this styling here, yeah, you can help a lot of people think self-esteem is something born.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, actually, there's a lot of external activities. For example, people with depression, they stay home. How about getting a haircut?
Yeah,
And
of
that's
course.
little actions will actually increase their outward confidence and slowly the inward self-esteem. How
Mm-hmm.
about you? I assume, if you wear white shirt, then maybe don't wear white pants. I'm not thinking, okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, so they increase the self-esteem here. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I think it comes down to what it really comes down to for me is helping people
Okay.
find something that is aligned with them as a person because what I feel good in is not going to be the same that you feel good in, Joseph. You
Okay.
would feel very funny in my clothes, most likely. So
Okay.
trying to find something
Okay.
that speaks to the person behind the outfit, that speaks to the person um, behind the clothing, and allows you to see them even before you speak to
Okay.
them in that way.
And Sarah, I would love to invite you to do some styling coaching for all
Oh,
my
wow.
associates, clients, whoever it is. It will
Mm.
greatly improve a lot of confidence skills.
Well, thank you. We could certainly take a look at it. And you would be surprised about how much theory there is that goes into it. I have some
Exactly.
people working on my team. They know like the color theory and they can tell clients like these are the best colors for you to wear based on like your attributes. There's really a lot that goes into it, but it really is so helpful from an employment perspective, even outside the workplace, feeling confident in what you're wearing. Think about if there's a client that's, having a
Mhm.
hard time finding a partner, they're really interested in settling down and whatnot. And how are they presenting themselves if they're going out and meeting people, right? Do they feel good in what they're wearing,
Oh.
or do they feel like they're not themselves, right? How do they showcase the best parts of themselves through how they're presenting themselves?
Mm.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Sarah. And this sort of creativity, styling, and experimenting alternative roles is
Mhm.
so applicable to
Mhm.
business meetings, employment, obviously, job interviews, um, even cultivating their social environment, jumping into a new event, going
Mhm.
on a first date, meeting the
Mhm.
parent. It can be for everything, every single day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if I'm doing something important, for example, if I need to have an important conversation with a loved one, think about what you're wearing and how you're setting yourself up in those situations. You want to feel prepared, right? You want to have
Okay.
had some thinking about how you want that conversation to go,
Yeah.
different ways it can go, but also
Okay.
think about your physical comfort and am I wearing something that I feel secure in? Am I wearing something that is authentic to me? Like really in all situations, you should want to showcase yourself in that sense. And also um, have something that aligns appropriately with the situation that you're in. especially important in workplaces.
So Sarah here for the viewers, very interested in styling, self-confidence, self-esteem here.
Hmm.
How about we do a live demo here? You be the stylist and you're
Yeah.
styling me, okay? Any feedback, comments, obstacles,
Oh my goodness.
live right now.
Very similarly to in counseling, actually, I would ask you, what do you like to wear? How do you want to feel in what you're wearing? Um, let's say you were preparing for this podcast today. I might say to you, Joseph, "Oh,
Okay,
what is the podcast about?"
okay,
I might say to you, how do you usually dress in things like this? What would you like to wear? Okay, you want to be comfortable, but you also want to look professional. And then I would
mm,
ask some of those more so close-ended questions, but the ones that are helpful in propelling us forward. Do you prefer short sleeve or long sleeve? Do you
okay,
prefer pants or something else, right? Do you accessorize? And then
yeah,
building out from there. But it really is
wow,
focused on, it's not focused on how something looks, it's focused on the needs and the
okay,
preferences. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I see. Okay, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Very good here. So Sarah, today we're close to the end of the time
Hmm.
and we will talk a lot more about this. So when
Wonderful.
you think about it, what are some of the take-home message you want to tell the public, viewers, fellow clinicians, and anybody?
Um, I think the primary thing from this conversation would be explore what creativity means to you. Think about think about how it can highlight different pathways, different choices that you can make. And just because you're maybe not identifying yourself as an artist right now does not mean that you're not a creative person. You can be an accountant and be creative, you know? So I would say try and find those creative moments in your life and try to build more creativity because creativity, I I tell you, it will give you greater resilience.
Wow. Sarah, next time you come, we need to ask a lot more questions. And today
Okay.
we are very grateful for you to share your expertise here. We'll see
Thank
you again very soon.
Yes, sounds good. I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity as well, and I'm so looking forward to the next time that we chat.